Yo, 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 yo. What's up? What's up? What's up? Hello, my revolutionaries, and give up the ruck. If you see what I did there, I mixed it up just a little bit. Now, today, I know it's a bit of a weird one, and I apologize for not having my usual time slot, but I was unable to get around to it this morning. So I thought, hey, I need to get in on my stream for the day, and I got as soon as I could back to my home office, let's call it, so I could touch base. And we're looking at the world events today, and a very particular localized event. Yo, 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 4IS in the house. How are ya? What's up? What's up? Let's see what iteration we have today of the famous saying in our streaming culture. I am in suspense of where we're going with this one. Almost as suspenseful, might I say, as trying to figure out what is that synthwave art during our podcasts. But yeah, today we're going to be looking at dun dun dun. Yes, dramatic music, drum roll, please. LOL, it got censored. No way you got censored. What did you write, you bad man? You're gonna have to go to the Discord. I really want to know now. The suspense is killing me. What could 4IS have said? The usual introduction, and it got censored. That's the first time an intro has got censored. I see Skate in the house. How are we? How are we? Look, we're going over the dramatic escalation in terms of Australia's diplomatic position on Palestine. It would seem that, yesterday, it's in the CC. All right, let me check it out. It would seem that, yes, yesterday, our Prime Minister, our head of state has come out and said that they will recognize Palestine unequivocally now. There's no more debate about it, whether they should do it or not. There's no more cabinet to and fro. They have said they will recognize Palestine, and they're going to be doing it, I believe, at this September UN gathering, the Leaders Summit that is coming up on the 23rd of September, I believe. And they're going to join the ranks of other big Western nations that have recently come out as part of, I guess, a broad range of tactics to try and get some, I don't know even what you would call it, some progress with the whole dramatic situation that is unfolding with Israel's war on Gaza and the annihilation of an entire ethnicity, it would seem, at this point. And, you have some Western leaders, which is, it's better than nothing, but you have some Western leaders saying, hey, that's not right. Let's do something about this, please. The juxtaposition of August Australia protest is interesting. I trolled Bossy so hard a few years ago. Q is with a new subversion. Ahem is not real. Sorry. I will take it back. I shouldn't have said the actual name. I'm sorry. Yeah, August Australia, and then compared to everything else that's been going on, it's like we're living in a new world all of a sudden. What is going on? Let me just check the CC, the censored comment. Oh, you bullshit! That got censored. No way. Now, if you know what I'm talking about, if you're wondering what I'm talking about, I'm just referring to, we have a Discord, and where we get censored, we put a censored comment section so I can read it out. And the general introduction that 4AS has is yo, 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 what's up, and then followed by something relevant to the day. And it's what's up, give us a two-state solution. And it's not real for sure, LOL. And there you go. That was censored. The words, the phrase two-state solution. Talk about censorship. Like, people speculate whether or not there is, honestly, that got censored. If you can honestly speak freely in a Western society, we do uphold the virtues of freedom of expression and freedom of speech to a certain extent, but obviously not on this social media landscape. Saying something like the two-state solution will get you censored in the comments section, which is something that we've been grappling with for at least 6 months now. So it's interesting, but that hasn't changed, despite the fact that there are more Western nations coming out saying that they will recognize the Palestinian state. So it would seem that the algorithm for our master and protector on social media, YouTube, the algorithm there hasn't caught up with the times. I have Cronulla riots vibes on Australia currently. Really? Well, if we're talking about like that, counter protest that's being organised, or even Egg Boy vibes. Egg Boy. I think Egg Boy is actually a bit better than Cronulla riots vibes, let's just say. But yeah, let's go with Egg Boy. But yeah, if you've heard, there's a protest being organised on the Australian Harbour Bridge by people that want to counter the Free Palestine protest and want to protest for Australia. So look out for that. That's on the 31st of August. And for all intents and purposes, it seems to be one about nationalistic pride and concentrating on things that Australia needs, as opposed to protesting over, obtuse international affairs, like protesting against the eradication of a group of people. Yeah, there seems to be a sentiment in Australia growing, apparently, that we need to protest about the evil establishment and our government, etc., etc., etc. So keep your eye out for that one. The think tanks are hedging closer on issues, but both fund any idea that is marketable to Australian two-tone idealism. Oh, you're on fire today, Icy Ski. My God. I bet the media will say that they that had 200,000 people attend. Wink. Yeah, I know, Ryan. It's interesting, the manufacturing consent on this one. Now, let us just get some context, please, as to what the hell is actually going on. So we're going to be heading over to our trusty, that's right, trusty, taxpayer-funded Australian broadcaster, and we'll see what they have to say when this dropped yesterday sometime. I don't know what time it dropped. I can't see that here. But yeah, let's have a look at this historic shift, as they're calling it.
Australia will join key allies in recognising Palestinian statehood.
Ah, brothers. Yes. Loved Jeb in the house. It's good to have you. Listen to this interesting conversation as you're living the dream and working for the man. We're going to be covering what's going on with Palestine in terms of its recognition by world leaders and what that actually means. All is tuned in mystery. All right, let's have a listen.
At the United Nations General Assembly next month, the historic shift in foreign policy has been approved today by Cabinet, ending weeks of speculation. The Prime Minister declared now is the moment to move and that the world cannot wait for success to be guaranteed. Critics say it rewards Hamas for the terror it unleashed on Israel on October the 7th. National Affairs correspondent Jane Norman begins our coverage.
So here's the main critique, okay? This is what you would say, but let's just look at it dialectically. This is the dialectically opposed position to recognizing the state of Palestine. It's not doesn't seem to be much more than that, because strategically it doesn't really do much. It would be symbolic at best. It would open some avenues within the UN. We'll get to that. But here's the main argument against this, that by recognizing the state of Palestine, you are therefore giving the green light to Hamas, a terrorist organization, and their October 7th attacks. That's the argument. That's the counter argument to this.
A momentous shift in Middle East diplomacy.
Today I can confirm that at the 80th session of the United Nations General Assembly in September, Australia will recognise the State of Palestine.
Australia to join France, the UK, Canada and possibly New Zealand in making the historic pledge, a coordinated global campaign to push for Palestinian statehood.
The risk of trying is nothing compared to the danger of letting this moment pass us by.
This September, the international community has the chance to forge hope from despair.
But Australia's promise comes with conditions. The Prime Minister is seeking assurances directly from the Palestinian Authority that Hamas will have no role in any future Palestinian state and that the authority itself demilitarises, commits to holding elections and continues to recognise Israel's right to exist.
Okay, so here, this is really, really important as well. It is not an unconditional, hey, these people have the right to exist, or some type of, not like right to exist, okay? That's even a stretch. These people have the right to statehood. So in the, global order of post-World War II, we set up as a human race, the UN, right? Basically, the victors set up a world order in order to govern affairs, to ensure that the ruling ethos was able to be projected beyond just military strength and power. So this organization has been set up to maintain the general capitalistic economic and political interests of the general cabal of nations that were going to lay claim over planet Earth. And there were people that could sign up to this and become recognized as member states. And there were people that were going to be kind of central key states, the ones that really had economic and military power. They were going to really be able to make decisions on who comes and who goes. And then there were going to be states that are kind of, forming or seeking independence or sovereignty. And then they would be enlisted to this cabal, this United Nations, at the behest of basically the more powerful and important nations. They got a seat at the table. So it's basically like a world club, and you're in the club, and there's benefits and perks that come with that. Obviously, there are humanitarian and legal benefits outside of that. There's a rules-based order. If you've heard that phrase being thrown around a lot, this is what it's all coming down to, this idea that, once you are recognized as a state, there are certain rights and responsibilities, obligations for yourself, but other nations as well, in terms of how they treat you and how they deal with you in a diplomatic sense. And so these are the conditions in order for people to start, like Western nations, to start recognizing Palestine in terms of its own statehood. Dilemmas, 85 in the house. What up, peeps? How we going? Yeah, good to have you. Welcome. We're just trying to dissect what's happened recently, because I called it wrong. Okay, we had a stream like 1 or 2 weeks ago, I believe, and we were looking at Albo's position, or maybe his mission to China. Maybe it was during that one, and I said, "There's no way that Albo will want to do this prior to actually having some type of negotiation with Trump, in case that gets used against him, and he wants to have all the chips in his favor if he goes to the negotiation table." It was the mission to China one. Yeah, and I was like, no, I didn't see them actually calling this, because the other world leaders had been doing it, or prominent Western countries had been doing it. And I was like, I don't see it, because New Zealand's still dragging the chain on this one. And I believe that was a bargaining tip in potential economic negotiations between Albo and Big Trumpy 2.0, but he's jumping the gun. He's done it anyway. But here are the conditions. Okay, Hamas gotta go. Now, Hamas is, I'm sure you're all versed in this, but just a refresher. Hamas is a governmental structure of some sort. They've claimed to be government. I believe their governmental power really presides mostly over Gaza, as opposed to Gaza and the West Bank. But I think their claim mostly revolves around Gaza, and obviously they are militant. And so there's the second one there. If they're going to recognize Palestinian statehood, they want it to be completely demilitarized government, which is rich, right? which is really rich. Like, here's your, and this is what I'm saying, this is the global cabal that is the UN. You want to join us, you take on our liberal values, and we will prescribe to you. And when I say liberal, I mean like general liberal democratic vibes, and liberal in an economic sense. Like, you take on our commercial economic systems, and then we'll give you a pass. All right, we'll let you into the club. And so you got to demilitarize, which is interesting, because if you think about it, that's a really bad hand. If you want to be recognized by everyone, to be dealt a you must demilitarize hand in terms of your governmental power when you're sitting next to the most militarized state in the Middle East, being Israel. I'd be very nervous about that one, but I guess the perks potentially of being recognized at this point in time outweigh everything else. And then you have to hold elections. Hear what I'm saying? Like, that this is the world order. This is how you push the dominant culture's ethos and ideology onto the world. This is how capitalism helps reproduce itself in the current sense, which is liberal democratic political organization. They must hold elections. Okay, you want to be part of the club, the UN, because there's other countries that are not democratic and holding democratic elections that are allowed in the UN. But like, these are the conditions here. This is how you push your liberal agenda. And I say that generally. Remember that liberal is general in this sense. And you must be willing to recognize Israel. Now, I don't think that's a real problem, because I think for a long time, not everyone, but a lot of Palestinians, at least ones in official positions, have understood that the two-state solution, the censored word, the two-state solution, is something that they were kind of down with, as long as their counterpart was non-aggressive. But whatever. Capitalist pig vibes, globalization, no self-determination. Dilemmas. America is really going to isolate themselves the more they back BB. And no amount of art of the deal is going to help them. I don't know about that, man. Are we on about the yarmulkes again? Welcome back, Jerry Poppins. Lovely introduction, as always. We are a little bit, mate. So yeah, these are the conditions that must be met if people are gonna, and like, I think this is very similar conditions that have been given by the other Western powers as well. I just want to clarify something with my research assistant, if you don't mind. With the recent round of Western countries starting to claim that they will recognize the state of Palestine in the upcoming UN September Leaders Summit, who was the first to start this chain reaction? Was it the French? And why did they make this claim now? So yeah, I'm pretty sure it was our mate Macron. But like, it seems to be incredible timing, right? Jerry Bob, silly hat, grumpy vibe. Make it all one country, I say. Well, there we go, eh? Abiy Yemeni started it all. I'm sure he did. Either Germany or France. Let's have a look. France is widely seen as one of the first major Western countries to explicitly signal they may formally recognize Palestine, or at least push strongly for a political solution that includes recognition. Other European countries such as Sweden, which recognized Palestine back in 2014, and some Eastern European nations have already recognized Palestine. But the recent momentum among bigger Western players has shifted. France's announcement of a signal of willingness to recognize Palestine if peace talks fail has indeed influenced others. This set a kind of benchmark or opened the political space for others like Spain, Ireland, Belgium to express. Okay, so why did France make the claim? they stalled the peace process. The Israeli-Palestinian peace process has largely been frozen for years with few signs of progress. France has expressed frustration at this stalemate and wants to re-energize diplomacy by showing it supports Palestinian statehood as part of a two-state solution. There's that evil word again. There it is. There has been growing pressure from French civil society, left-wing political factions, and parts of the public to recognize it. Diplomatic leader role. France, traditionally a major diplomatic player in the Middle East, eh? If you know your history, a bit about French colonialism, they are definitely important in that region. A major diplomatic player in the Middle East likely sees this as an opportunity to reassert leadership and influence in the peace process by taking a clear stance, nudging others in the EU to follow. Timing with the UN summit. The September UN General Assembly Leaders Summit is a high-profile event. Yeah, so it really comes down to what's going on in this summit. France's claim ahead of this summit helps the agenda. Yeah, okay. So what was the order after France making this announcement of Western and European nations threatening the same call to recognize the state of Palestine at the UN summit? Please provide a quick list with dates of their announcements. Let's see how fast it can do this, hey? France, announcement July 24, 2025. United Kingdom, July 29, 2025. Canada, 31st July 2025. Australia, 11th of August. Spain pipped? No, July 28. Sorry, July 28, 2025. The Spanish government, in alignment with France and the Arab League, has been actively supporting the recognition of Palestinian state at the UN. Ireland, announcement. There you go. July 2025. Ireland, along with Spain, Slovenia, and Norway, called for full UN membership of the state of Palestine. Belgium. Okay, so, what a chain of events they sparked off the old French there, eh? Macron. Hey, you bad dog, you. Look at you stirring the pot diplomatically. And I think you're right. Who said it? Was it you? Dilemmas. They are really going to isolate themselves, the Americans, and no amount of art of the deal is going to help them. But I don't think they really give a shit. And I think that's what actually this whole process really is about, is that everybody knows that the Americans are not going to really roll over on this issue at all. It's America and Israel all the way, baby. America's military industrial complex is just way too important for them for reasons of the perpetuation of the capitalistic mode of production. It needs the military industrial complex to be pumping out stuff and destroying capital, destroying value that is produced in the system, because there's no other vehicle for there to be enough production in the global capitalist order to meet the demands of a advanced industrial world in the imperial core. And so Israel's just too good in terms of it's a good customer and it's good reason to continue to waste a lot of money. China, as the war between China and America becomes more hot, and America has a reason to really ramp up its military spending and really, really go after someone like the Chinese, let's say in a World War III scenario, you watch Israel become less important because they won't need them to pump money into their war machine anymore. They'll have another target. But yeah, I don't see America caring about its isolation. And so these countries, I think, are coming together because they, one, feel the pinch of ye old liberal democratic societies. Their voter bases are pissed off and they've got to save face in front of their voters. And two, this may be the only way to show some type of force at a arena like the UN, and if they all come together, and it's really just the US and the UK now that are stopping, sorry, the US and Israel right now, US being on the Security Council, vetoing any membership of Palestine. It's just blatantly obvious to everyone now. The world versus the US and Israel. And it is incredibly isolating, but I don't see them really caring about that. They seem to really have not shown any fucks in that department. Let's be honest, the Americans, like, honestly. And yeah, like Australia, Canada, United Kingdom, France, like their populations are not rolling over on this one. They don't want to let it go. And so they don't want to commit political suicide just to save face with the Americans on this one. The Americans are tied to it for other reasons, and it's not diplomacy, if you ask me. Siloed walled gardens, API, HTTP, TTPS, out-call structure, LOL. Moments like this is where it's class consciousness or alienation are the best. Yeah, well, there's a definite analysis from a critique of capitalism on this one. I'll tell you that much for free. So anyway, these are the conditions. All right, let's keep going.
The objective: to isolate Hamas and unite Gaza and the West Bank under the Palestinian Authority's control.
The risk here is this is rewarding terrorism. It's not getting to a lasting peace, which we all want to see.
The Albanese government has been dragged kicking and screaming to take this small step.
The government has been moving cautiously. The foreign minister first flagged.
Like, come on, like the Greens, they're like such a waste of space. It's just like they've been asking for this and more for so long. I thought they would be happy. I thought they'd be like, yes, next step, etc., etc. It's just like, no, not good enough. Should have done this before. So good. Any chance, eh? Any chance. And see, this is the culture war, identity politics kind of world we live in, where you can't accept anything. You can't say that your perceived opposition, whatever that means, has made the right call on this one. I just thought they would be happy. I really thought that. Greens are wild, but they just want to be a logos rather than shovel. Thanks for the point about the Greens. It's interesting, right? I really thought that they would actually be like, yes, about in time, like kind of thing. Let's do this. What's the next step kind of thing? But they're just like, no, not good enough. Not good enough. Squeep. 89 in the house. Welcome. We're going over some breaking kind of news, I guess you would say. It's an interesting development, to say the least. And we're trying to get to the bottom of. I haven't read the news. What's Oz doing now? Well, we're playing international diplomacy right now. That would seem to be the long and the short of it. There really is no way of basically getting Palestine into the UN as an actual member state. And so there's a whole series of countries that are recognizing them as a state, which is part of the process in order to be accepted into the UN, and so they're going to do that, but there's no chance, I don't believe. So not our strong position. It's not the best, but it's a step. It seems to be a step to engage in higher levels of diplomacy. Did we reveal our hand before we played it? No, I think... Well, look, we were talking about and debating. That's a good question, actually. We were debating it for a while, it would seem. The New Zealanders seem to be in that trap still. Christopher Luxon, their Prime Minister, I saw him getting grilled by the New Zealand press the other day on this one. And like he's left it to his cabinet as well. And he's kind of distancing himself from a commitment on this issue. And Albanese has come out recently and said, look, cabinet's discussed this one and we're going forward with it. So Australia's moved actually faster than what I thought, but playing your hand doesn't mean much in this arena because it doesn't do too much more than be symbolic, in the sense that they're not going to get a seat at the UN unless America backflips, which I don't know. Like, I'll leave it up to you, chat. But the odds on that one, if I were a betting man, are pretty shit, I would say. I don't see America backflipping and not vetoing that one in the UN. So this is largely symbolic. But if Australia recognises, from the way I understand how this type of global diplomacy works, if Australia recognises it in the UN, or France or the UK or Ireland or Spain, Canada, Belgium, these countries that have recently come out in support here in kind of like a solidarity effort, if they do that, they are saying that they, as sovereign nations, will be able to enter into levels of diplomacy that haven't really been available to them without, formally saying it. So they could start sending aid. They could start sending military assistance. Not that that's ever going to happen, but, they could really start assisting properly on a global stage because they recognize their statehood and their sovereignty. So it could be more than symbolic, but that might be the hand, Squeeb. That might be the hand, that they could do other diplomatic acts as a result of this. So the hand really that they're showing, or whatever they're showing at the moment, is simply, hey, we recognize it. And there may be other things, but it's largely a game of 3D chess between heavyweights in the UN at the moment. Australia not being one of those, but France and the UK definitely. Thumbs up emoji. We'll see. We'll see if it's us playing our hand fully or not. Time will tell.
This shift a year ago, but they're moving cautiously.
To take this small step.
The government has been moving cautiously. The foreign minister first flagged this shift a year ago. But the decisive moment came last month when France, horrified by the humanitarian crisis in Gaza, confirmed it would recognise Palestinian statehood. Other Western nations quickly followed, and now Australia too, joining what's become a truly global push to ratchet up pressure on Israel. Anthony Albanese conveyed the news to his Israeli counterpart in a half-hour conversation described as civil. But Benjamin Netanyahu, backed by the United States, is undeterred.
To have European
Have you seen
countries
this?
and Australia.
Have you seen this? He's calling out, naming, shaming Australia on this one. He's not a happy camper. Yeah, I love the Aussie accent. Shame we don't hear it as often on online news discussions. Yes, true that. Let's watch BB. I think that's your mate Dilemmas. He's on.
The United States is undeterred.
To have European countries and Australia march into that rabbit hole, it's actually shameful.
Israel's ambassador to Australia adding, peace is built by ending terror, not rewarding it.
Hey, this is like, can you see them coalescing? This is the argument here. This is how they are going to structure this fight against recognition of Palestinian statehood. Hey, you are rewarding the terrorists. Why would you do that?
Accusing Australia of undermining Israel's security and derailing hostage negotiations.
There is a momentum that has been created. I think we're moving and there is no going back.
Gratitude from the Palestinian Authority, hope for Palestinian Australians.
It honestly means a lot to the Muslim community.
This is about much more than drawing a line on a map. This is about delivering a lifeline to the people of Gaza.
And there's no going back from here. Jane Norman, ABC News, Canberra.
All right. Interesting. Double down. Double down.
With analysis of today's developments, here's Global Affairs editor Laura Tingle.
The Prime Minister says Australia is recognising Palestine because Israel's actions are making a two-state solution impossible by its physical demolition of Gaza and its expansion of settlements into the West Bank. But the decision also reflects profound shifts in the strategic tectonic plates in the Middle East. In the course of 2025 alone, Israel's international standing has profoundly changed. The United States' standing has profoundly changed, as has the position of the Arab world. Israel's brutal and relentless war on Gaza has robbed it of its moral authority, And the increasingly erratic international diplomacy of Donald Trump has made other leaders realise they cannot rely on US leadership. The international community has few levers to pull to effect change. Recognition of Palestinian statehood is one of the few at this point of time, and the assessment is there is little choice now but to prop up and develop the Palestinian Authority as a viable body of governance. Australia has made clear that the international community will be taking a very hands-on role. That will include providing resources and people to help build the machinery of government, as Australia has done in places like East Timor and states remaking themselves in the 1990s after the fall of the Iron Curtain.
That's funny how she referred to it as the Iron Curtain. That's interesting. Eh? Very interesting. Not the evil Soviet Union. I honestly was surprised, this 4AS says, honestly was surprised ALP weren't punished more in the recent election, but maybe the Muslim population will be more open to ALP with this. Time will tell. Muslim community, yeah, okay, got it. Rally on the bridge worked, guys. You know what, Squeep? I have wondered that myself, actually. The timeliness of this, like maybe it's just a coincidence, but the timeliness of this, that march across the bridge where there was reportedly 90,000 people, but potentially up to a few 100,000, maybe there was enough of a push there for people to be like, like the politicians said, I have to do something now. Damn it. Come on. We were going so well. Now I actually have to do stuff. Come on now. Boomers. I posted a video that is related to this. Oh, okay. Where? In the Discord? What the? Oh, look, they still hate Engels and Marx. Engels' writing on sociology has civilization are top tier. Even if they made up their mind before, this meant that they had an environment where they could announce it. Yeah, I guess you could just blame it on that, couldn't you? You could use that as a good reason. You could really say, oh, look, there's a lot of support for this one, ladies and gentlemen. So let's just call it now, while everybody still remembers what happened on the bridge that day, that evil day where the police said that people, what did they say? It was a perilous situation. It was a perilous situation. They feared for a crusher event, even though there was no violence, no arrests. Nothing, zilch. Whereas in the UK at the moment, you've got protests going on, and the police have reportedly arrested almost 500 people. 500 people in relation to supporting a Palestinian group, let's call it. That has now been labeled a terrorist organization, but yes, a Palestinian group. People have been protesting over there. They've been arresting old ladies that are 90 years old, but here we have a protest with 200,000 people. Let's just call it middle of the road. Not one arrest, no violence, in the rain, and the police had to shut that one down, didn't they? That's a bit dangerous, but it still was enough to cause some pressure potentially. Squeeb 89. I guess this type of stuff can have an effect. Mosh pits are illegal at government-approved concerts, while rock and roll is played in airports and Coles while you consume. Thank you for the interesting little factoids there. I like that. That's funny as. All right, let's move around this landscape just a little bit and get a bit more of an understanding. I want to see more of old BB, because I know that'll just make dilemmas night or afternoon if we see
Benjamin
more.
Netanyahu has claimed Israel is
battling
pointed comments for countries including Australia.
When we do what any country would do faced with this genocidal terrorist organization that has performed the worst attack on Jews since the Holocaust, I think we're actually applying forced judicial.
Are you listening to this double think? The way that he reverses the story? Like, him and Trump are two of the same in that sense. He just referred to Hamas, okay? Maybe not the Palestinians generally, but Hamas as a genocidal organization. That's a massive call, man. I might just be getting older, but Coles has a banger playlist these days. It does. He does. Brought up the Hollow topic. I know, right? Yeah, the worst attack on Jews, apparently, since World War II. Well, I cut him off. Let's just let this Olympic gold medalist, mental gymnast over here reverse some speech on us. Let's let him say his thing. Ever wondered what people thought back in the day during a Hitler speech? This is a lot like that. Yeah, right? Listening to this guy speak, yeah, you're like, damn. The dude put Hamas in power, lol. Down, prices are down. All right.
Country we do face with this genocidal terrorist organization that has performed the worst attack on Jews since the Holocaust. I think we're actually applying force judiciously, and they know it. They know what they would do if right next to Melbourne or right next to Sydney you had this horrific attacks. I think you would do it, at least what we're doing, probably maybe not as efficiently and as precisely as we're doing it.
The distinction Mr. Netanyahu is glossing over there is the difference between Israel's right to self-defense after those deadly attacks by Hamas on October.
Wow, that's some next level stuff, that is, man. Is that it? That's all the cut they have? Damn.
Australia.
When we do what any country would do faced with this genocidal terrorist organization that is...
So, like, if... You remember that, ladies and gentlemen, for all the Australians in the audience that have geographical references for this, if there was a terrorist organization, you know, next to Sydney or Melbourne, Australia would be doing the exact same thing right now, but with less precision. So basically, not only would we do the same thing given the circumstances, which is, you know, for all intents and purposes, an objective frame of reference for an argument. Hey, if this happened to you, you would attack back. You could say, like, most people would be like, fine, you know, there's an argument there. But, like, he just had to go in there and just be like, but you wouldn't do it as well as us Israelis. We are way more precise and we know how to kill. And he had the audacity to call Hamas a genocidal organization. Like, that is some real incredible psychological tactics there. Like the flipping of the script on that one, calling your opposition out for exactly what you're doing is absolutely extreme. Absolutely extreme. You know what? I'm impressed. I'm absolutely impressed. And I shouldn't be shocked. I don't know why I'm shocked, honestly.
Minister had this to say.
Most of the Jewish public is against the Palestinian state for the simple reason that they know it won't bring peace, it'll bring war. To have European countries and Australia march into that rabbit hole, just like that, fall right into it, and buy this canard is disappointing, and I think it's actually shameful. But it's not going to change our position.
It's not surprising.
Shame. Hey, remember that. Shame on all of us. Shame on the entirety of the Europeans who come around this one. Shame to other English-speaking Western countries. Shame. Oh, yeah. I forgot the cops completely wiped out the Nazis in the Melbourne March last weekend. Yeah, right? Yeah, interesting. Yeah, what a strange turn of events that was. If you've seen any footage of those neo-Nazis marching through Melbourne. That was what's going on there? Shame. I wonder if he's worried about that. That genocidal regime. Marching through with the marching band style as well. They had drums and everything. They were singing tunes, marching through the streets of Melbourne. I wonder if BB's upset about that. He should be. He bloody should be. Well, there it is. You've heard it. You should be ashamed of yourself if you're Australian. Be ashamed of yourself. Maralinga was our Gaza. We had an attack. It was Maralinga. Yes, and shame. That is I had to hear it from the horse's mouth. I really wanted to know what he said exactly. I'm not going to watch the whole thing, to be honest. I couldn't do that to myself. Let's see. What else have we got here? Let's see what the PM says to the general public. Let's go with some middle of the road, centrist media, and see how they frame this conversation. Because obviously the ABC is an outrageous lefty organisation, right? You can never trust what the ABC has to say. Outrageous vehicle of the woke mind virus. So let's go down. So this is what, Sunrise. So what's that, Channel 7, I think? So yeah, Channel 7. So let's go have a look at how the mainstream media dealing with this before we have. Let's go to our faves. You know who my favourite is. We're going to go over to Sky News after that and have a look at what they have to say about this. I'm ashamed. Every time I see the Israeli flag in my parliament, I'm ashamed. There you go. How does Israel not know about the Australians' horrible history with colonial past? Because he's a colonialist himself for all intents and purposes. Okay. Oh, there are no comments available. Why would you disable the comments? Come on. That's not fair. That's not fair. Anyway, let's have a listen to see how the mainstream media are handling this one.
For more on the Palestine decision, the Prime Minister joins us live in Melbourne. Good morning to you. Do you think this announcement,
Nat. Good to be with you.
That you made yesterday will actually change anything on the ground in Gaza?
What it does is send a message that the international community is saying enough is enough. This is a conflict that has gone on now for 77 years. The international community are saying we need to find a solution that provides security for the State of Israel, but also recognises the legitimate aspirations of the Palestinian people for their own state. And that's why countries like the United Kingdom, France, Canada and now Australia, but other countries as well, will be joining in September at the United Nations to join the 147 countries that have already recognised Palestine. You can't just keep doing the same thing over and over again and expect a different outcome. And this is the best opportunity that there is out of a crisis to actually provide a long-term solution, one in which the states around Israel recognise its right to exist, one which sees a demilitarised state of Palestine enable Palestinians to just live, to continue to do the same thing is not enough.
So we've just had Dave Sharma say, well, Hamas will just keep going. There's nothing to hold them into releasing the hostages, into going away. What will you do if they don't play ball?
Could you imagine? I'm just seeing a picture of Alba right now in my head, like in Rambo gear, you know, busting, like, yeah, out there being helicoptered in, off the chopper, straight down, kicking the door down at the Hamas headquarters, releasing the hostages. Like, what type of question is that? It's hilarious. The Palestinian decision. Nice. As an autistic person, Albo is an embarrassment and makes me an ableist. You can feel the red scare from Bokmas. How does Israel not know? Oh, wait, I already read that one before. Yeah, interesting. Very interesting. But yeah, like, what does that even mean? What type of question is that? What are you going to do if they don't get rid of Hamas? Sam Nielsen, he has a small set of skills, but he will find them.
What will you do if they don't play ball?
Yeah, I'm going to break their legs.
Well, we're opposed to Hamas. Hamas can play no role. And what Mr. Sharma knows full well but didn't say is that Hamas will be totally opposed to this decision. Hamas don't support two states, they support one state. in their own words, from the river to the sea, from the Jordan River to the ocean. And what this is about is increasingly the international community, the breakthrough statements that we've seen from the Arab League, the clear commitments that have been given by the Palestinian Authority of finding...
All right, does anyone know what the actual statements were? We're just watching Prime Minister Albanese speak about this issue, and he has mentioned statements put out by the Arab League on Palestinian statehood. Can you confirm what these statements were exactly? Key Arab League statement supporting Israeli. So the Extraordinary Arab Summit in Cairo, March 2025, the Arab League convened an extraordinary summit in Cairo where leaders from 22 Arab nations issued a declaration emphasizing the necessity of establishing a sovereign Palestine state. A call for the United Nations Security Council to deploy international peacekeeping forces in the West Bank and Gaza to safeguard security for both Palestinians and Israelis. Reaffirmation of the support of the United Nations Relief and Work Agency, and call for the international community to sustain its financial and political backing to prevent any attempts to dismantle or undermine the agency's mandate. July 2025, conference of the implementation of the two-state solution. In July 2025, a high-level conference co-hosted by France and Saudi Arabia focused on advancing the two-state solution. The Arab League, along with European Union and 17 other countries, endorsed the declaration affirming a shared commitment to the establishment of an independent, sovereign, economically viable and democratic Palestinian state. The joint statement of the Palestinian statehood. In July 2025, a joint statement was issued by France, Saudi Arabia, and other nations, including Qatar and Egypt, condemning the October 23 Hamas attacks and calling for the group to disarm and be excluded from any political role. The statement also emphasized the importance of integrating Israel into the Middle East region. I remember this now. This is massive, isn't it? Because, like, basically you've got the key players of the Muslim world, at least in the Middle East anyway, saying, yeah, all right, fine, Israel has to integrate somehow into the region. Fine. I remember people being quite shocked at that one. So yeah, that's the significance of that. League of Humans need to help arbitration. You can imagine that? The League of Humans. Hey, he's not autistic, just an overachieving bloke with a little case of the downs. Jerry Poppins. Couldn't help yourself. Good job. Oh, I saw that sly comment there, Albo. Yeah, interesting. Very interesting.
A way forward for peace and security for both Palestinians and Israelis. There's been too much innocent loss of life. And I spoke with Prime Minister Netanyahu last week. You can't just continue to do what he is saying, which is we'll continue to just have this military operation without any political strategy for a solution going forward. We're seeing how it is playing.
Dude, is that the one thing that gets me about all of this? Like, okay, what's the point of all of this? And it's like, yeah, well, we're getting towards the idea of recognizing that there needs to be two states, and like that's a significant step forward because the international community hasn't done it, let alone, you know, the Arabs as a league, the Premier League of Arabs haven't decided on this one to allow Israel to integrate. But see, the way that they talk about it is like, it's like they won't discuss the elephant in the room. Okay, recognizing their statehood is not the thing that's going to stop Israel from trying to wipe these people off the face of the planet. And they're pretending like this is a step towards that. I don't think it really is, unless, and this is what we spoke about earlier, unless all of these nations once they have recognized the statehood, are then like, let's use our diplomatic avenues now to step in. They can go and like set up the government themselves, send people into Palestine, actually send people in, send in aid and support, like actually feet on the ground. Like that would be it. But like, I guess time will tell on that one. You can't unsee it now. He's got a silver of the syndrome mystery, and you must admit it. Oh man, my God, now you've said it. I know you're right. I can't unsee it. There is a look there, Jerry. I'm gonna call it out. I'm gonna say it. You've destroyed the image now. I'll never be able to unsee it ever again. Thank you, Jerry Poppins. You've broken the stream for me. I can't unsee it now. It's because he's a Rabbitohs supporter. That's why. I'm just gonna say it. Hey, I don't care how divisive that is. It always comes back to the Rabbitohs, if you ask me. They still fleece First Nations, but they make big fuss over the apology rather than the material reality of the situation. Yeah, I think that is a fair call. I see it as a step. And as long as they got feet on the ground, they're doing stuff materially, that makes a difference. But this doesn't seem like there's any material basis there. It really doesn't seem like there's any material basis. Sorry, there's any material action that follows this. But again, stand to be corrected, let's say.
Which is Gaza reduced to rabble, tens of thousands of innocent lives being lost, innocent kids being killed while trying to get basic essentials of food and water. We just can't keep going the same way.
Yeah, look, the world is...
Jerry, I can't unsee it now. What have you done? Jerry Poppins. What have you done?
Watching that, and you know, people are sick of it. It's horrific watching that. But what about the argument that Hamas went in, they murdered those people on October 7, and 2 years later, they've got partly what they want. They've got their own
And this is the argument. I really do want to see his response to this one, because if like that's the one weapon in all of this. It's just like when a child does something naughty, you don't reward them, you punish them, like kind of thing. So like, you know, all the Palestinians do need to be erased from history because October 7th, eh? I would like to see how he responds to this one.
Hamas do not want this. Hamas don't want two states. Hamas wants to destroy Israel, which is why Hamas can have no role whatsoever in a future Palestinian state. This is about isolating Hamas. And the clear statements by the Arab neighbours that was made just a couple of weeks ago in the meeting convened by France and Saudi Arabia was a breakthrough. We need Israel to be recognised by all the states around. In 1947, when the United Nations made this statement, they envisaged two states. One, a majority Jewish state of Israel providing a homeland for the Jewish people, and a state of Palestine living side by side in peace and security. Now, that was way back in 1947. We have had conflict in the Middle East ever since. And I think Australians overwhelmingly want to see the killing stop. They also, of course, don't want to see conflict brought here to our harmonious multicultural society.
Okay, finally, what are you going to do if...
So that's the argument, is when people say this is rewarding Hamas by recognizing Palestinian statehood, and this is the argument to counter that is, well, no, Hamas don't want a two-state solution. They want to wipe out Israel. And so this is not what they want. They don't want this at all. It's interesting how the ping pong of politics works on this issue. Side by side, like Bloods and Crips, MTV marketable. That's hilarious.
The US votes against this plan because I think, from what I understand it, the Security Council is 5 members and they're the ones who don't seem to support it. Where does that put you with Trump?
That's a good question. There's everyone across this inner workings of the UN. considering there is a Security Council in the UN, it is likely then that any effort to recognize Palestine as a member state will be vetoed by the US. Can you briefly explain how this process may hypothetically unfold? Application for membership. Palestine would submit a formal application to the UN Secretary General. Security Council review. The UN Security Council examines the application. Admission requires 9 of the 15 council members to vote in favor, including all 5 permanent members: US, Russia, China, France, and the UK. Like, look at that. Like, this is how, as I said, it's like a global cabal. Like, this is how they've split up the world into regions. If you ever read 1984, Orwell gives quite a interesting dissection of how the world is cut into regions that are warring against each other, and it's pretty much like this. Matt Bond, I have arrived. Welcome to the chat. How are you today? We are going down a bit of a deep dive here today into, okay, Australia has recognized the State of Palestine. Is this symbolic, or are there other ramifications of this that we can actually, I don't know, see any progress on in terms of the ethnic cleansing going on? Oh, Voltateur, how are you? See, I am not familiar with Voltateur. Can you explain, are these like New Zealand references that you sometimes put in the chat? You usually put an Oz or an 07, especially at the end, and I need to decipher or decrypt the language barrier of being across the Tasman on this one. So WOZ, if you could. Oh, winning? Okay. Winning Oz. Oh, because we have. Okay, we are winning. And look, we're going to actually have a look at Christopher Luxon, actually. And we'll see what he has to say about this, because I got absolutely, it's young slang. Okay, and then what is 07 then? Because I usually see an 07. The two volts to the map squad. Yeah. Yeah, we're gonna actually have a look at what Christopher Luxon has to say, because I saw him getting smashed the other day by his, like, the press in New Zealand. That's a salute. Oh, nice. Thank you very much for deciphering the slang for me. Yeah, so here we go. We got basically the way that the world is split into regions or spheres of influence. You have the Eurasian mass, like Russia, kind of in between and on top of the Middle East a little bit, or those countries that are half European, half Middle Eastern, I guess you would say. From the steppes, you have the US sphere of influence, so the entirety of the Americas, China from East Asia, I guess. It's funny that Japan's not in there. Then you have continental Europe, and then the UK, the lone island that used to control the world. So the P5 members, these are the ones, the permanent members of the Security Council, and they are the ones that would block it. And it's obviously the US, because China's down with it, Russia's down with it. It's the US. Historically, the United States has vetoed resolutions recognizing Palestine's statehood. Given US support for Israel, it's highly probable the US would veto Palestine's membership application. If a veto occurs, alternatives, if vetoed, the application cannot proceed to the General Assembly for a membership vote, because the UN Security Council approval is mandatory first. Isn't it so interesting, like, how they've set this up? It's a cabal. It's not a democratic process. It's not like everyone in the world, one nation, one vote kind of thing. Hey, let's all figure out as a big happy family. Let's get together, solidarity, etc., etc. Like, it's absolute. It's rubbish. It's just a league for the powerful to sort out global affairs after World War II. See, that's why Russia's in there. Why didn't Germany get a seat at the table? Hey, I wonder. Given the support, I already read that. If vetoed, Palestine can still be recognized as a non-member observer state. They're already a non-member. Oh, yeah, like the current status holds. Okay. Alternatively, Palestine and its supporters might seek broader General Assembly support. And this is what's happening at the moment, right? But this basically does not grant full rights. So yeah, it's the Americans will just veto it. Who are the 15 though? A mission requires at least 9 of the 15, including all 5. I wonder who all the 9 are. Does anyone know who all 15 are? Who are all the 15 members? Oh, damn, it didn't work. Who are all the 15 members? Albania, Brazil, Ecuador, Gabon, Ghana, Japan's in there. Okay, Malta, Mozambique, Switzerland, and the United Arab Emirates. That's interesting. Okay. Wow, you learn something every day. I'll save us a cryptographic error system upgrade as well. Voltator. We are living in history for the future to decipher. Yeah, it's a bit like that, hey? Yeah, BRICS, hey? Brazil is in there too. We've got Russia, China at the top. Top members of the Security Council. I wonder how China edged their way to get in there. They're a late entrance to the UN. Interesting nonetheless. Where's South Africa? Hey, where's India? Hey, they're a big player. Interesting.
Well, President Trump, of course, has been a very strong advocate for peace in the Middle East.
I was wondering where he's going there.
In other parts of the world as well.
But he's voted against Palestinian statehood, though.
Well, we will see how this plays out. But the world is coming together increasingly. I've had very broad discussions with like-minded countries such as the UK and Canada and France and other countries in Europe. You had the clear statement joined on Saturday by Italy and Germany. And you have had increasingly the world looking at this and saying, what is the solution to stop this? I mean, October 7 happened with one of the world's biggest security forces in Israel, and it happened. The atrocity and terrorist action.
Oh, damn. I thought he was going to call it out. It's like one of the biggest security forces, like most sophisticated, highly advanced, let's be honest, security forces around. And they let that one slip, didn't they? Eh? What a blunder that was. Oh, no way. You're in the chat. Yo. Avalava. Albo spoke with Netanyahu last week after this 300k person march. Sounds like Netanyahu is trying to put some pressure on Albo. Yeah, damn right he is. Hey, so what an interesting phone call that would have been. Fly on the wall for that one. Shame on you, Albo. Shame on you. How dare you? You bastard.
Of Hamas. We need to disarm Hamas. We need to get rid of them once and for all. And you need a strategy to do that.
And can that happen without the US? Without the US's vote in the Security Council?
Will he admit that the recent links are showing that soldiers were told to not patrol the Gaza border fence on the morning of October 7th? Ladies and gentlemen, you have heard it here first. Oh my God, in the stream chat, on the Discord, here we have it. Hey, soldiers were asked not to patrol. That's what I'm saying. Like, I thought he was going to go there for a second. He was just like, they're a pretty sophisticated operation. Hey, talk about intelligence. They have been popping people with absolute precision, shooting through the sides of buildings, getting exact targets, and not having to demolish everything, but like getting exact targets. And they let this one slip through, eh? Past the keeper. I don't know. Soldiers are saying this in court under oath. Damn. I bet you they're being paid by Hamas, though, eh? That's what's going on there, Avalava. They're being paid off. Paid off by the evil genocidal regime, which is Hamas. Eh? There's one for you.
Look, we want to see the world move forward on this, and certainly President Trump has been a very strong advocate for peace. President Trump will, of course, make decisions based upon...
It's a very convenient 9/11 style event that has justified this whole operation. Ooh, I couldn't help but think about it when, I was broaching it before, but it's just like, yes, the 9/11 conspiracy style Israel version 2.0, October, eh? The world will never forget October 7th. It is a bit convenient, isn't it? Very convenient justification. But, like, did they need a justification? Let's be honest. They've been pretty trigger-happy for a long time. Decades.
The interests of the United States. Okay. My job as the Australian Prime Minister is to advocate we're not big players in the Middle East. That is true. But this is a part of building that momentum of the world to say, let's stop this and create a system where we won't keep going back to this over and over again. And that is what we have seen with the conflict in particular over the last couple of years that has led to devastation.
Yep, no one disagrees with that. Prime Minister, we thank you very much for your time.
It's pretty middle of the road, I guess. Nothing really going on for the mainstream. A couple of pressing questions. Hey, Albert, what are you going to do when Hamas doesn't disband? Are you going to get down there? Hey, are you going to get the whip out and start breaking up Hamas? Hey? I don't know, man. I don't know. All right, let's have a look at, I know you already want to do it. Actually, first, I want to see what the New Zealanders have to do with this. It's a quickie. Let's have a look what Prime Minister Luxon has to say about whether New Zealand's going to join the fold.
The government has just announced that New Zealand will consider formal recognition of a Palestinian
state. Consider it.
It follows Australia's announcement this afternoon that it will recognise Palestine at a United Nations meeting next month. Political correspondent Zane Small has been following developments and is with us now live from Parliament. Zane, why no actual decision from our government?
Yeah, Zane.
Well, we first learned about this afternoon in a statement released by Winston Peters, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, and it seems to suggest that there isn't a consensus yet among Cabinet about this issue. The statement says there are a broad range of strongly held views within our government, Parliament and indeed New Zealand society over the question of recognition of a Palestinian state. The Prime Minister just held a press conference here and he wouldn't confirm whether there was disagreement within Cabinet, but he said the government will make a final decision next month and it will be communicated by Winston Peters to the United Nations in New York. Now, as you mentioned, Australia has already confirmed that it will recognise a Palestinian state. Canada and France have also done the same. And the government is already copping criticism from the Greens and other pro-Palestine
I'm really not used to
for delaying its decision.
Seeing media types looking at their phone yet. I'm not used to that. It still gets me. He's like checking, hey, here's my teleprompter.
What the Prime Minister had to say this afternoon.
What are your main concerns with recognising a state of Palestine?
Well, it's just, it's important that it's a complex decision. There are a range of views on all sides of the debate. It's important that we make our own decision as New Zealand. We have an independent foreign policy. It's important that we weigh it up seriously. It's a complex issue, and I think we've got a good process to work our way through that decision. But I just say to you, what we're really fixated on is, we are seeing a humanitarian catastrophe in Gaza. We are seeing Hamas hold hostages that should be released. We're seeing no evidence of a ceasefire emerging.
Can you see like the liberal establishment of the world? They cannot say we are seeing a humanitarian crisis without mentioning Hamas. They can't do it. They're not allowed to say it. It would be like political suicide or something. I don't know. To mention, oh look, it's really screwed up what's happening in Palestine right now. It's really, really bad. But Hamas, Hamas, they've really got to like sit on both sides of the camp. No one can outrightly just say this is absolutely disgraceful. Israel needs to be stopped. No one can say it. This guy is full on milk toast. Well, like he's just parroting what every world leader seems to have to say about this, or what every politician seems to have to say about it. It's just so non-committal. Like, they're saying it. It's like right there. It's absolutely disgusting what's happening in Gaza. But Hamas, okay?
At this point in time, there's good efforts going on from the US. There's good efforts going on from other Arab states as well. We want to encourage that, but the bottom line is that hasn't materialised. And so what we really need to see is a stop to the suffering.
See, from what I understand about New Zealand politics is that there is a minority government over there, which is not a rarity at all. It's actually a rarity to have any type of majority. And so if he's talking about cabinet, there'd be the coalition people, I'm assuming, that are forming his cabinet. And that's just a whole bunch of various iterations of right-wing politics, I'm assuming, in New Zealand. And so, like, what are the broad range issues that they have to really discuss as, like, middle-of-the-road, centrist style conservatives? Like, they understand that genocide is a bad thing. And then the real right-wingers are probably just like, no, I don't want to support Palestine. We love the Israelis, basically. And so his cabinet is a bit different, I'm assuming, to good old Albo's cabinet. And, like, he'd be able to, tell them all basically, this is the party line, and this is where we're going with it. But old Christopher over here, hey, good luck. You have to really negotiate strenuously with the cabinet, especially if there's some other parties that have some pull in there, which I think they do, actually. They would have a bit to say, but, it's just really a matter of when, not if, I would say, now that Australia and the rest of the Western nations have really come on this one. New Zealand has hard right independence more than foot-right flat annuals. Only care about capital class. Yeah, interesting. Well, the capital class seems to be rallying the general centrist vibe in global politics that runs the neoliberal world. Really, are happy to kind of step aside on this one and be like, yeah, all right, let them talk about it at the UN. Enough's enough. Let them go. So it's going to happen. It's going to happen. But, like, what's the debate? Honestly. What is the debate? Recognize them or not? Doesn't really make a difference to these guys. Now we're going to do something that we enjoy as a little bit of sport on this channel. We're going to go into uncharted territory. No, it's not true. We actually charted this territory a little bit now. We're going to go and have a listen to what Sky News Australia has to say on this decision. And this was actually from the day, so I want it to be fresh. I want it to be hot. Sky News, Chris Kenny slams Prime Minister Anthony Albanese. Recent actions around undermining national principles and terrorism. I can't wait to get to the comment section on this one. All right, let's have a listen to see what the right-wing media machine has to say about this issue. Okay? I bet you how many times we're going to hear them talking about rewarding Hamas. Somebody keep a counter if you can.
What Anthony Albanese has done today shames our nation.
Shame.
And it imperils us. It will be politically popular with the hard left, with some Muslim communities, and with those who don't pay attention to what's really going on. It'll be cheered by the radical anti-Israel and anti-US activists so prevalent on Western university campuses. But in the cold, hard light of day, this is another example of the West revelling in self-harm and bowing to its enemies. This rewards terrorism. It
the script is so hard on this one. It's so hard. Oh my God. Avalava, get your Chomsky out. Eh? Quickly flick to page 30. Which of the strategies is this on the manufacturing consent train? Eh? Rewarding terrorism. Say it with me, everybody. Rewarding terrorism. This dude's boss called Trump file protector, lol. Now, back to the script, everybody. It's hilarious behind the scenes. Oh my God. It's all of them. It's every one on the list. He's doing all the plays at once. Oh my God.
Demonizes Israel, and it devalues the core principles of freedom, democracy, and the rule of law, so crucial to Western liberal democracies, and I thought, our national values.
Remember their list of demands. We will recognize them if they have elections and they demilitarize their government. Tell me what part of those conditions were anti-democracy. Anyone? Anyone? The fear-mongering of a scapegoat. Very unoriginal, yes. Everybody needs a scapegoat, a boogeyman to heck. Ooh, rewarding terrorists. What is this dude talking about? I don't know. Like, it's just... He's spitting some form of rhetoric, and we heard the word already. We've heard it, rewarding terrorism.
Democracies, and I thought, our national values. In fact, this gives Hamas exactly what it wanted when it slaughtered families, raped women, massacred innocent children, defiled bodies, and took hostages 22 long months ago. And when I say it gives Hamas exactly what it wanted,
tell us.
I don't mean recognition of a Palestinian state, of course. That's not what Hamas wants. Hamas wants the demonisation of Israel. That's why it deliberately triggered a war that it knew it couldn't win. Hamas wants the world to turn against Israel so that it can...
This is an interesting take. I got to give it to you. Hey. Mr. Chris Kenny, hey? Coming at it from a different angle. They don't want Palestinian statehood. That's not their desire. Hamas wanted the world to hate Israel. And the only reason people are turning around now and recognizing the statehood, the sovereignty, of Palestine, I should have said before, the only reason they are recognizing the statehood of Palestine is because they now hate Israel. It's got nothing to do with Israel's actual actions. It's got nothing to do with that. It's got nothing to do with the endless imagery that the world has been bombarded with of people suffering and children. This is the working class linchpin right here. This is where the working class draws the line on many issues. We've seen it with the Epstein files. The working class will converge on this issue. Yeah, it's pretty fucked up the way the kids are being treated with this situation. You cut and paste that on the Epstein situation, cut and paste it here with the Palestine situation. It's got nothing to do with the way that Israel has been acting. It's just got to do with the fact that people now hate Israel. So France hates Israel, Canada, the UK, Australia. We've all stated unequivocally that we hate Israel. And New Zealand's sitting on the fence. Their cabinet hasn't decided whether they hate Israel yet or not. But Volta, they're working on it. They're working on it. Our values, laughing my ass off. And what are these values? They act like Hamas, well, is that how you got around the censor? Has no real reason to be angry with, is not real. Prison Hulk history.
And advance its long-term aim of eliminating Israel and eradicating the Jewish people. That's what they say, believe what they say, and watch what they do. Now, Australia and a bunch of other soft-minded and weak-kneed nations are demonising Israel with this recognition move. And the terrorists of Hamas will applaud them at every turn.
Today I can confirm that at the 80th session of the State...
There is no... Recognise what state? There is no state. There is nothing approaching a state. There are no settled borders. There's no effective political system, no democracy, no rule of law. So the entire push is really about recognising an aim, a dream, a fantasy that is completely disconnected from reality.
Yeah, it's pretty disconnected right now. Right? They're ruling over what? Rubble. Yeah. And what? A part of the West Bank that is now being infiltrated more and more by settlers. So yeah, you're right. It is pretty abstract at the moment, but it hasn't always been abstract, and the two-state solution has been around for a little bit longer than what's left at the moment. And this is why people are pointing out these actions as deplorable, as insidious. I know it's becoming more and more abstract. I think that is actually a good point, and that's probably a reason to pull up right now and say enough's enough. Eh? As the bowling ball strikes again. LOL, bowling ball. I can't take credit for that. That's an FJ joke. Oh, about this too? There we go. I'm pretty sure if anyone was born into Gaza, they would hate who has been keeping them in such a state. I know, right? Banana Pirate, let's say Palestine gets statehood. What happens after that? Peace? Or more of the same? Which is what we have been discussing so far on the stream, Banana Pirate. That's a pretty good bloody question. If Palestine, let's just say the Americans allow that to happen. Actually, we haven't even gone there because I don't think it's really ever going to happen. Because the Americans aren't going to vote or, accept them in the UN and allow it to get through to the General Assembly. It's not going to happen. They're going to veto that. But let's just say they got statehood, then yes, they would have the rights and the obligations of any nation that is a member state, and they would have certain protections, and the UN would probably have to step in and take certain measures, which is what apparently what the Arab League have been asking for anyway. So the UN and the cabal that has formulated the United Nations would have to do something. They would be obliged to at least act to basically split up these fighting neighbors. So there would be some level of action, I would say, by the international community. But I don't think the Americans are ever going to allow them to become a member state of the UN. I don't see that happening. As a Lismore flood-affected person, destruction of community will find a reason and understanding for their material living conditions and those responsible. Ooh. There's kind of a weird dialectic that goes on there as well, because that sort of stuff brings the communities together and people kind of just work together to try and get through the atrocity, the hardship of the situation. But then, yes, they go searching. They go searching for answers, don't they? Definitely. Although it's really hard to make such hatred go away when people have been traumatized so much. But the one with the power has the ability to ensure peace, not escalate it. And the scary thing when they translate, they do interview after interview with Palestinian that has been, like you said, traumatized, let's say, to say the very least, by the whatever atrocity on a day-by-day basis that is afflicting them. They always talk about the people who have just died at the hands of some strike or starvation or some plot to eradicate them. They always talk about their dead as martyrs. And that is very telling vernacular. You do not pick vocabulary like that without some level of meaning behind it. They are not people that simply have died at the hands of the enemy. They are martyrs. They are people that have died for a cause. So, talking about repercussions and reparations, everybody that goes down as a martyr, civilian or not, then it doesn't bode well for future relations, that's for sure. Governments don't want to be held responsible. They are lots. They have crippled around the world. There are lots that they have crippled around the world. Yeah, 100%.
And doing it in a way, really, of just opposing Israel.
Australia will recognise the State of Palestine. Australia will recognise the right of the Palestinian people to a state of their own, predicated on the...
PM's decision shames our nation and imperils us. They must have conferred with Benjamin Bibi himself. They must have called him up after he got on the phone to Albanese and be like, what do you want us to say in our content? Shame on Australia, and this will imperil your nation.
Commitments Australia has received from the Palestinian Authority.
Oh, so he's recognising the right to form a state, and he's received commitments from the Palestinian Authority. In other words, he's received assurances from the Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas, a man who is 20 years into a 4-year term. Yeah, that's right. That's how democratic the Palestinian Authority is. Abbas was elected to a 4-year term in 2005, and he's still there without the inconvenience of elections. And Abbas, like previous Palestinian leaders, was offered a two-state solution way back in 2008, and he chose not to accept it. But Albo reckons Abbas will deliver it now because of commitments. And what would these commitments be?
Our government has made it clear.
Well, is he surprised that politicians change their mind, and do backflips? What? That never happens. Oh my God, this is outrageous. And he's not even been elected. He was only supposed to serve 4 years, been there for 20. Outrageous. That never happens in times of war or emergency, where somebody who is given a usual term is given, therefore, extraordinary powers and an extension of their remit. That never happens. Never. Never. Would never have happened to any Western country, even when they're at war. Absolutely outrageous behaviour. Unheard of. The only thing that can keep you going in those situations is hope/faith. Yeah, well, you're going to have strength in their faith at the moment.
The Palestinian state, us, and
no role in
authority.
Oh, really? Hamas will have no role in this. Sounds nice, doesn't it? But Hamas controls the Gaza Strip, where 2 million Palestinians, close to half the Palestinian population, lives. So how can Albo and all these other geniuses guarantee no future role for Hamas unless Hamas is defeated? This is one of the core absurdities of this whole push. They're demanding that Israel stops pursuing Hamas. They want a ceasefire to stop the military action against Hamas, but they say they can form a country without having Hamas.
See, this is where I have to stop this guy. He's getting really gross. Israel isn't just going after Hamas. Like, how much footage do you need to see of them starving people out and literally going after civilians? Like, how much footage do you see? Like, I'm not talking about collateral damage. Collateral damage happens in warfare. Got it. Okay? There are very unfortunate circumstances where civilians cop a raw end of the deal because of armed conflict. But this is not collateral damage. They're being targeted. You are a fucking gross person. You are. Unfortunately, like, this is shameful, buddy. Shame on you.
Playing a role. You have to have a plan to dismantle Hamas, otherwise you're going to just pretend that Hamas has gone away and you're going to be cultivating disaster. Besides, the issue is not so much Hamas as an entity, but Islamist extremist terrorism as an ideology. Albanese makes no attempt to de-link his actions from the horrors of October the 7th.
Ever since the atrocities perpetrated by Hamas on the 7th of October 2023, Australia has stood with the people of Israel and our partners and allies.
You know, like, how do you and live with? How does he sleep at night being that type of a mouthpiece? Like, I get it. there are certain arguments that he's making that you could really argue for. You can really argue for. He's made a case. These two solutions been on the table. They never wanted it. Why do they want it so bad now? Things change. All right, got it. But really ignoring, and it's pretty obvious, like really ignoring that they're targeting civilians, like women and children, vulnerable, the elderly. Like, come on, bro. Come on. Put down your ideology for a second. Like, just a second. Argue some of the other points you were making. Some of them, had legs. This one, come on. That, like, all that Israel wants to do is root out Hamas. What are they going to do? Go door to door across a vast, vast city with 2 million occupants, go door to door and rat them out one by one? I don't think so. Like, seriously. Dang, I got CC'd again. I've seen so many videos of children getting sniped. Yeah. Said the 4 p.m. news said. Wait, you got censored. Oh, you're not in the censored comments yet. Okay, too bad. Coalition will reverse the support of Palestine. Well, actually, I think what's her name? Lee or Lay? She's already come out. The leader of the opposition, basically saying, no, don't agree. I thought it might be bipartisan, but no. It's raids on the strip. Oh my God. Reverse the support. Yeah, they probably will. Yeah, I'm pretty sure she's come out and she said, nah. She's probably towing the line, right? She's probably saying, we're rewarding the terrorists. I called the Liberal Party yesterday about Palestine. What did they say? Tell us. Tell us, please. Did they say the line? Hey, say it. Say the line. Rewarding terrorism.
Around the world in calling for the release of the hostages. For the sake of their loved ones and all who share in their pain, we repeat that call today.
Again, how can he say this? He is rewarding Hamas for taking hostages. So how does that help those hostages now or other hostages into the...
Look, he's got to be aware of this as well, that right now the Israelis are protesting in Tel Aviv. I'm pretty sure it's clocked at like there was 100,000 people protesting in Tel Aviv just yesterday, and they want the hostages back. They are saying to Bibi, they're like, go and have ceasefire talks right now. You can get the hostages back right now. You can get them. Just go and talk and negotiate. And Netanyahu's like, nope, not happening. So, like, if you're really going to run with that argument about the hostages, like, honestly, they're like Hamas, they're holding them back. Like, they have had multiple opportunities, the state of Israel, to get those hostages back, but they won't meet the terms, which is ceasefire. Ceasefire! Palestine, never heard of it. They said that they support Palestine. Not sure what it means, as there are many views. If Sharia doesn't report on it, it didn't happen. Sky News 101. The protesters in Tel Aviv still don't care about Palestinian people. No, they don't really. Like, they're like some of them. I've heard some of them be like, we want to kill the killing. We want to end the killing of Palestinians. We want to end the killing of IDF soldiers too, and we want our hostages back. We want our people back. So, like, yeah, they don't really care, but like, they are actually asking for their leader to just negotiate, and these guys acting like that's not something that is on the table. It's been on the table for ages. Trump even tried to get that out of him. Trump tried. The man of the art of the deal himself. He was there. He was just like, just do it, please, for God's sakes. Let's assure this conflict ends tomorrow. But how does the rebuild happen? Who wants to fund and assist with the risk of rebuilding tunnels, etc.? Seems like the end game here is a mess. Interesting. Well, if they do it anything like they restructured Europe after World War II, it took a lot of capital coming from the Americans. So if all these Western nations or these European countries are ready to back the state of Palestine, then diplomatically they should be able to provide them with a lot of aid and assistance afterwards. And there'll be a lot of companies out there, a lot of members of the private sector that will be able to get in on rebuilding everything. But like, yeah, who the knows? The art of the flop. They just want land for themselves. Kushner and Trump want to build condos there. Yeah, did you see that thing that Trump put out with like the AI generated image of Palestine looking like, I don't know, Florida or something like that? He was gonna bulldoze the whole thing and turn it into some holiday destination. Trump tried to finish the war in 24 hours. LOL. He's tried to finish a few wars in 24 hours. Eh? He promised that one a little bit prematurely, old Trumpy boy, because the Russians weren't paying attention to that. He was supposed to end the war in Ukraine in 24 hours. 24 hours. That's what he was going to do. 24 hours.
Future. This diplomacy encourages hostage taking. Think of the Bibas family, Mother Cherie and her few beautiful boys, Ariel and Kafir, taken during that murderous rampage of October the 7th, held in fear and killed as hostages in the tunnels of Gaza. How could we communicate to them and their families that the reaction all these months later is not to make sure others are not taken, not to force Hamas to hand over the remaining hostages, but to betray their memories by trying to assuage the terrorist savages who not only took them and slaughtered them, but then handed over their bodies in a grotesque ceremony. Look at this, the sickening victory theatre of the Hamas terrorists. It is just so sad and infuriating. Yet listen to this from Albanese today.
The Palestinian Authority has reaffirmed it recognises Israel's right to exist in peace and security. It has committed to demilitarise and to hold general elections. It has pledged to abolish the system of payments to the families of prisoners and martyrs.
He called them martyrs. Our own Prime Minister called Palestinian terrorists, suicide bombers and the like, martyrs. If that doesn't show you how low we have sunk, I don't know what could.
This is actually quite hard to watch, this one. Like, we watched a few Sky News and like, I'm generally laughing most of them. This one's a bit difficult, I must say. Yo, what the fuck is this manipulation? BS, what the fuck? I know. Assigned USA hostage situation, standoff irony. Oh my God. Yeah, think about that segment. It's propaganda if I've ever seen it. This is hardcore propaganda, right? And like quoting someone else saying the word martyr and then using that word yourself is not grounds, I think, to call out what side of the fence you are sitting on in terms of any moral or ethical position. But like, wow.
Just imagine if the international community had stood firmly behind Israel and against Hamas from the start. Would hostages still be held? Would the war still be going? We'll never know. But we do know that what's shifted so many politicians, including by his own admission, Anthony Albanese, is the public protests and, of course, sparked by the concerns about the devastation in Gaza, which is obviously terrible. But of course, it's communicated primarily to us through Hamas-controlled information, which has often been shown to be staged and exaggerated. It's propaganda. All people...
Oh my God. Did that just happen? Did that just happen? It's staged. The pictures are staged. Wow. Yeah, those ones might be. Have you not seen any of the other footage coming out of Gaza? Like, seriously. Oh my God. Oh. Man, this one is difficult. This is difficult, man. I'm sorry. Usually we get a laugh out of Sky News. This guy's fucking mental. Oh my God. You don't have to scratch far to know there's more than 2 pictures that have outraged the world. You gotta string a better argument than that. Come on. You gotta be able to argue better than that. Sky News talks like dementia high needs nurses.
People of goodwill want civilians protected and saved. That goes without saying. And we all want peace. The question is how to deliver that. And appeasing Hamas is the wrong strategy. Ignoring hatred is a huge mistake. Think of this Muslim leader in Sydney on October the 8th, 2023, 22 months ago now. He celebrated the slaughter of 1,200 Israeli men, women and children, even while their bodies were still being recovered and even while the injured were being treated. And he did this celebration with a group on the streets of Sydney, even while the 250 hostages were still being raped and murdered. Yet just over a week ago, that same man, Sheikh Ibrahim Dadoun, joined the protests on the Sydney Harbour Bridge, and he said this.
We stand on the Harbour Bridge on an iconic day when we are protesting, we're marching for humanity.
So really, you rejoice at the slaughter of Israelis, but then you march for humanity. Yet our government has bought these arguments from activists like this.
They focus on Hamas so much and never the innocent people. Well, they showed 2 images and they had the audacity to say that this whole response has been contrived because there are 2 images floating around there that have been staged by Hamas themselves to win over popular support from the world's populations. And here it is. And just a reminder, these are the type of people that live in your backyards, okay? They're in your suburbs, mixing with your children, going to your shopping centers. That's right. These people that support the killing of Israelis. Let's not talk about the same visceral responses that come from Israelis that are literally walking around with weapons, like settlers and stuff like that, just popping Palestinians like there's no tomorrow. But don't worry about it. We've got some good footage of this Muslim dude in Sydney. That'll get the Sky News audience going, eh? That'll get it going.
Now, do I support a Palestinian state? A state where Palestinian people live in peace, freedom and security alongside Israel, whose security is also guaranteed? Of course I do. But it's so far from reality now that it's ludicrous to even talk about it, let alone recognise it. Under current arrangements with the Palestinian territories run by Hamas, Fatah, Islamic Jihad, Hezbollah and others, a Palestinian state would most closely resemble the caliphate established by Islamic State in Iraq and Syria. It would be an Islamist terrorist badland, much like Gaza today, where the rights of women, gays and non-believers would be non-existent, where democracy would be a sham.
Be rich, eh? This guy's sticking up for the gays, the women and the non-believers, eh? It's pretty rich when it suits.
And where the ultimate goal would remain the annihilation of Israel and the eradication of the Jewish people. And its borders would snake through the suburbs of Jerusalem. Before Israel can allow such a state, a Palestinian state, it needs to be demonstrated that that state would be free, open, secure and peaceful. And such an arrangement is less plausible now than it has been for at least 2 decades. Every time the Palestinian Arabs have been offered a state, they have chosen war instead. That is the sad fact of history. In 1948, then again in the 1960s, in the 1970s, again at the turn of the century when Bill Clinton brokered a deal that was rejected by Yasser Arafat. And when Abbas didn't take up that offer again in 2008. And then when Gaza was handed over 2 decades ago, it prompted not peace, but years of missile attacks into Israel, years of foreign aid being tipped into weapons and tunnels, and the vile atrocities that led to on October the 7th. Yet now, while Hamas is still fighting Israel from Gaza, while Hamas still commits the daily war crime of holding 50 hostages, 30 of them dead, 20 believed to be still alive, now Australia decides to recognise a Palestinian state.
It is a very, very big stretch, that argument. Okay, there were 50 people. Let's just go with 50 because he already recognised that, like, 30 of them have passed. Versus, by some accounts, and they may be a little bit conservative, 60,000 people have died as a result of that. We got 50 hostages versus wiping out 60,000 people. I don't know, man. Is that really commensurate? Is that what he's arguing here? He's arguing that whatever actions Israel takes by wiping out tens of thousands of people is definitely okay because there are still 20,000. There are 20 hostages that are still being held by Hamas. It's a massive stretch. Wait until the bowling ball hears about 1947 and 1948 in the Middle East. This guy legit makes me mad. I'm triggered. White Jesus locked into the Abrahamic religion is super intense. Wow.
It's a decision as repugnant as it is absurd. It's as morally depraved as it is diplomatically impotent. It is recognition of an imaginary state in order to portray Israel as evil.
That's what it's
done
about.
Largely for domestic political purposes, to appease the Islamist hardliners and the radical leftists who constantly attack and protest against Israel. It's a very sad day for Australian diplomacy, a tragic day for our national values, which now lay abandoned as a Green left government seeks to appease the radical Islam.
A Green left government. We heard about what the Greenies thought about the government. I don't think they were too happy with them. No? Green as evil green bastards.
Islamists. It's a terrible day for relations between Australia and Israel, turning a long and fruitful friendship into an estrangement at best. And if you want a more hard-headed and practical assessment of the damage to our nation, think about the US alliance. There's no relationship more important for our own defence and security. The alliance is already under strain, and yet now Australia joins an anti-Israel and anti-US diplomatic push. It'll do nothing to help the Palestinian people. It's just another propaganda win for the Hamas terrorists that will prolong the war. It further diminishes Australia and it undermines the US alliance. There's every chance now that Albanese will meet Mahmoud Abbas in the flesh before he meets the US President Donald Trump. It's a sickening day for Australia, and confirmation that the Albanese Labor government is changing this country quite dramatically, quite quickly, and all for the worse.
Wow. There it is. There it is. There's the cherry on top. Albanese won't even meet with Trump. Hasn't even tried. Bastard. But he'll meet with the Palestinian Authority. That's for sure. Eh? Evil bastard. All right, let's see how the propaganda has worked. Another divisive decision. This is another divisive decision like his failed voice referendum. I'm livid. Albo Turkey has to stop dividing Aussies or resign quietly. He is a liar. He has never stood with Israel during any time. What did he do about those celebrating October 7th on the steps of the Opera House? He did nothing. This pathetic government doesn't speak for me. Albo, shame, shame, shame. What a disgrace to all Australians. This evil traitor has got to go now. This is a distraction from Labor failure. Albo is a disaster. I am so disgusted in this current government. Shameful, embarrassing day for Australia. Step down, Albo. Anthony Albanese needs to be charged for treason against Australia. I appreciate your reasoned and informed commentary. I've never been so ashamed to be Australian. Oh my God. There's nothing else that shames you more than recognizing the statehood of the Palestinians. That fool does not speak for me. Albo is a stain on the white underwear of Australian identity. I love how graphic that is. I despise him in a way I've never despised an Australian politician. Wow, this is... Whoa, you can feel that energy. My God. Not my Prime Minister. Pure embarrassment. A little bit less savage. Surely the weakest leader Australia has ever had. Wong should visit Gaza with her partner and see how she's treated. Snap. Some of these are savage. 100%. I agree with your report, Chris. Public service, really, that Chris provides over here. Absolute no bias. Really, really balanced reporting. Really showed, right, how, a couple of pictures of, a mother with a starving child has, set off this chain of events which has allowed all of these important nations to feel sorry for a terrorist organization. That's all that triggered this entire world response was that. It was just a couple of staged photographs by Hamas. Let's be honest. Goddamn. We're just supporting terrorists. Very balanced reporting on that one. Shame, shame, shame. We all need to march for Australia. Here it is. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm calling it. Okay? I'm calling it. Listen out for this stuff. It's hitting hard. If you go on TikTok or something like that, and your algorithm is so inclined, you get bombarded with this one. March for Australia is coming on the 31st of August in all states. Albanese doesn't speak for me. Remember the March for Australia. Time for Albo to do the long walk of shame. All right, there it is. And I am done. Completely cooked. That one really took the wind out of me. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm not sure about you, but usually I get a good laugh out of Sky News. They've got something funny. Their assessment is usually satirical, or at least. The comment section usually has something funny in it, like a good analysis, something that I can be like, yeah, okay, I could see that. That was pretty funny, actually, but no, not on this one. There is nothing really on this one to be entertained by because of the stark realization that this guy is scraping the absolute bottom of the barrel on this one. Really doing absolute backflips to justify some pretty unspeakable behavior. And the only line that we've heard against this decision so far for a number of prominent states in terms of global diplomacy, the only real argument that we've seen against it so far is you're rewarding the terrorists. They wanted this. Now, he took that to the next level. So the hardcore conservative take on that is, no, Hamas wanted this all along. They wanted people to start hating on Israel. And so by doing this, by recognizing Palestinian statehood, this is a step that helps people or embodies that hatred for Israel. Hamas wanted this. We shouldn't be playing along. And you've got to have some accountability. If you don't want people to hate you as a nation state, as a people, as a world leader, then like you got to do less to cause all of that hatred. I think that's the real lesson there. Not that this was a really, really like 3D chess move, long-range strategic call from Hamas. They were just like, if we do this, everybody's going to call for Palestinian statehood on the grounds that they just hate Israelis. Okay? They hate the state of Israel. That is some crazy long-range 3D chess stuff by Hamas here. And so he's giving them, he's giving them big props for such an amazing effort. He should be careful how highly he speaks of Hamas strategy if he's so against rewarding terrorist organizations. Let me just say that. But like, what have we learned in terms of, what this actually means? Well, unless they use this diplomatic signal and symbol to actually engage in actual diplomacy, like go over to Palestine and be like, what do you need? Do you need some assistance? Can we help? Are there any diplomatic measures that we can do? Unless they do something like that, this just does seem to be a bit of a circle jerk operation at the moment. All these nations just been like, we know we can't do anything about America, but like, hey, we're doing the right thing. Hey, all of us, pat each other on the back, boys. Come on. We're doing the right thing. They want to get the cookers going again. Oh my God. Yeah, look, I don't know what this really means, but at least some people are coming together to put some pressure on people, I guess. That's as good as we're going to get out of this. Pepe Escobar has spoken about this in depth. Interesting. What a name as well. Pepe Escobar. That's hilarious. All right. I'm going to leave it there. But yeah, thank you, everybody, for coming along this afternoon. A little bit out of the usual schedule, but it's been eye-opening. It's been testing as well. I don't know if I have the stamina to go through another 14 minutes of this guy and his incredible propaganda efforts. Like, there was some real mental gymnastics going on there. But yeah, we'll leave it there. We'll be back tomorrow with another stream on YouTube as well. Back to the usual routine, I'm pretty sure, but I'll let you know tomorrow. So keep an eye on Patreon, keep an eye on YouTube posts, and I will keep you across it. And yeah, we'll pick up a new topic tomorrow because I don't have the energy to go through him again on this one. So yeah, join in tomorrow. I'll put some notifications up on Patreon and YouTube and the Discord. So keep your eyes peeled. Thank you, sir. I got paid to watch you today, so that's a double win. I'm glad, Dilemmas. Like, that's like the silver lining in all of this one today, because it has been energy sapping, this one. 4IS, Icy Skeen, good to have you. Larp Jeff, I hope you're doing well. Dilemmas 85, Jerry Poppins, hey, causing a little bit of disruption to the stream as always. Squeeb 89, Dilemmas, did I say you? I think I did. Thank you very much, everyone. Volta Tur, of course. Matt Bond had arrived. Stayed a bit silent, but I'm sure he's still watching somewhere. Banana Pirate. Not sure if I've seen you before, Banana Pirate. If you are actually new to here, I might as well. Thank you, 4S. I might as well just do some quick plug-in. So, if you want to come and join us on the Discord, here it is. There's an invitation for you. And if you want to get notifications, here's my Patreon. So you can become a free member on Patreon so I can get notifications to you. And if you are able to financially support, I would really appreciate that. And I would be beholden to you. So tomorrow, YouTube will be back. And until next time, please remember, I am, you are, we are a mystery. See you all tomorrow. Cheers.